Steve, hi, how you doing? Like, subscribe, thank you very much. Spitfire Audio Labs, free product, Foghorn, absolutely amazing. Download it now, it's great, you won't regret it. Let's see what we can do with it. First thing I did was go into session view and I wanted to just create a little bit of a feel of things. So I created a rhythm section. Great. I've got a load of stuff now which is probably going to sound a bit much altogether, but this was everything else that I just sort of did little bits here and there to create the sounds. Now that is a lot and it's not all meant to be playing together, so take it over, I'll click the little button so I'm activating the view and you can see what I've got here. Just over 5.5 minutes. This is what I didn't use. I had a load of stuff that I played around with that I dragged over, but then, as is the way with these things, your ideas are in session view and you kind of form them properly when it gets over to arrangement view. So I just left them there for posterity because I thought maybe I could grab things. Because I got this stab sound, which I really like the sound of, but it just wouldn't fit. And this was just taking this Sunburst Steel preset, put it through 2 amps, because if we take the amps off, and then EQing to get that there, pulling off the low end on that, a little bit of compression, a little bit of echo. I have used it a little bit later on, but it's not the same thing at all. But it just didn't quite work. It had that nice tension and that sort of almost 80s feel to it, but yeah, I had to ditch it. So I will get into it track by track. I'll show you what I've done. I'll explain what's going on. And like I say, download this thing, have a play with it. It's absolutely amazing. Full credit to Venus Theory as well, because Cameron did a lot of the patches on this. And you can see I've got 3 of his patches on there, which I've used for sort of main themes within the thing. But really, really good quality. Good job, Cameron. The first thing that comes in is using the Night Frost patch. Now, I've got the amp on this, and I've also got Valhalla Supermassive pretty much all the way up, 87.2%. Feedback's pretty high, and I just wanted this to be very distant and sort of backgroundy pad. So you can hear it without the amp and without the Valhalla. It's still a really nice sound, but I just wanted it to be quite more atmospheric, and I popped the delay on it as well. With the utility, I've just put the width up a tiny little bit because I just wanted a little bit more with it. And the reason I've only done it a tiny bit is because when we get to the big Foghorn sound, I've got that actually expanding outwards, so I didn't want too much happening at the same time in terms of width. Next thing is another Venus Theory patch called Ancients, and this kind of forms one of the main themes of what I'm doing. It's very much Foghorn based, and it's a really, really nice sound. I didn't need to do very much with this at all. You can say I've EQ'd. I just wanted to take the top end, because if I play this and turn that off, I just wanted a little bit more top end, so I just thought EQ it just to bring that out a little bit. I put the Bit Warmer preset on because I wanted a little more grit on it, but other than that, it's pretty much the patch that Cameron did. And also we've got this Andromeda, which I've used as a bass sound. Now again, I've just got the Bit Warmer. It's not doing an awful lot, and then the EQ to take off the top end. It's a beautiful sound, but the top end didn't quite work with the piece, so I wanted to just bring it back so it was just bass. You can see I've got a resampling track here, and the primary reason for this resampling track was for this tape arpeggio. So I'm going to play you this as the arpeggio. Now that originally was based on this arpeggio patch. Now I've done something with this anyway that I haven't done on the other one, is put my bad tape preset, which you can see in the video where I did Boards of Canada style tape destruction. Somewhere over there. And it just added a little bit. Messed up. And all I did for this, I didn't play around with any of the macros to get the sound. I just clicked on hitting random until I got something I like the sound of. That's what I love about macros in Ableton. You can just randomize and you get a really nice sound. And even though I put all the stuff there in the first place and sort of designed it, I'm getting sounds which I wouldn't have done myself, because you won't, well, you can do, but obviously you take a little bit of playing around. And I find random's a little bit better because you just hit something that goes, oh, I like that, yeah. So what I did for this one, this tape arpeggio, is for the best and the worst. It was my birthday at the weekend. The best and the worst birthday present ever. My other half realised I was doing all this tape stuff, so bought me a really shitty tape machine, and it sounds awesome. It was £15 off eBay. So I basically recorded into that, put it up reasonably loud. I didn't want too much noise on it overdrive wise, but it gives such a great sound. If I turn off the EQ here, you'll hear what it's like. Isn't that awful? That's terrible, isn't it? I didn't want all of it, but that tape has just completely destroyed the sound. I absolutely love it. I could have got even worse if I'd have overdriven it, but it gives it such a unique character. Actually, I probably do want a little bit more of the lower end in. But you can see all of that tape noise there. I'll take it down there so we've still got a little bit. And I love that. I used the resampling, recorded it, took it out into the tape machine, brought it back in again, and yeah, it just sounds fantastic. I'll go through the rhythm now. Now, I haven't fully mixed this. I did the same thing I always do. I forget to start with the template. I really need to set the template as my default. And then I end up having to do things afterwards, like add a bus for the rhythm, add a bus for the pads, so I can do a little bit of compression with a kick drum, but also for processing. So in the rhythm bus, we've got, if I play where everything's playing at once, because on the rhythm bus, I use the preset on the hybrid reverb large hostel bedroom because it just sounded quite nice. And if I turn that off, I actually really like it dry, but unfortunately it doesn't really sit well on a track when it's dry. So a little bit of that, just put it in a nice place. But generally everything is going to the send for the Valhalla room. That's the setup I've got. Reasonably long reverb, 100% on the mix and the depth, and it just sort of, everything else apart from the rhythms go in there a little bit just to glue everything together, give it the same space, put it in the same sort of area. All of this rhythm is actually from one of the presets. That engine rhythm is something I resampled in, and I dragged the audio because I wanted to play around with it. It was actually not quite in time for what I wanted, so I wanted to get it in time, so I warped it to get it in time. Used beats as the warp mode, and you can see I've got forward and the envelope up there, just because it kind of controlled it a little bit more as well, took away a little bit of the noise. And all of the rhythm, I've actually used a gate because I just felt like it tightened everything up. So if I play this without the gate on, it's a great sound, but it's too noisy. You end up with too much going on. So you put the gate on and it just tightens everything up and turns it into more of a rhythm. Same with this. You can see I've done a lot with the EQ as well, that I've just wanted to narrow them down into frequency bands so they didn't overlap too much with each other. And if I go into the lab setup, this is the engine room. And we've got quite a few different things. You can see we've got all the keys there. We've got different engine room sounds on it. That are really, really nice sounds for rhythm. So I've used the auto filter. I've got quite a narrow bandpass filter just to keep it. I've taken away some of the bottom end and just accentuated a little bit of it on the EQ that sounded nice if I take the gate off. It's not terrible, but it just tightened it up a little bit. Same on the filtered rhythm, and I thought for a little bit of variation on this, I wanted to automate the release time. So I set a random LFO, played around with the depth and the offset until it sounded right, and it just gives a little bit on that release time. If I turn the gate off, you see we've got the bandpass again on the auto filter. So if I turn it off, it's just too much. It's a nice sound, but this fits it more and makes it more of a rhythm. Now with the kick, that's the only thing I haven't, that doesn't come from the Spitfire audio pack. And this is just a kick with sub in it, which is on the standard Ableton samples that you get free. And the other thing from the engine room sort of presets was this patch I called Rising. Just added a nice little bit of something a little bit later on in the track. So this Foghorn is actually my favourite thing of the whole piece. It sounds absolutely amazing. I love it. So what I did was I've got the Labs Foghorn preset, sound the alarm, and then I've resampled it and put it in there and played it at a slightly different pitch. You notice I've got that detuned a little bit as well, and going through a bit warmer preset, a little bit of EQ to take off the bottom and the top, and then we pop it through an amp preset. That's 100% up there using the lead and the dry. You can see that I've only got a little bit of the amp, but this is what it sounds like. I mean, that is about as foreboding as it gets. If you hear that, you literally, it's cold brown that. It's absolutely amazing. And what I've done with that as well is I've put a little bit of automation onto it. So I'm using the width as it goes out. So you can hear pushing it out to the side channels. And I just felt that added something quite nice to it as well. And I use this melodic, I've called it, patch, and that is actually using Sombra Steel, which I've used in quite a few different things. And that sounds like this. Now if I turn that low, if I turn off that EQ, you see there's an awful lot going on the bottom end of that. So I took all that off so we just had something nice up the frequency ranges. The beeps here, again, it's the Sombra Steel. It's nice and simple. Again, I've just taken off the low end there. I popped a utility on to control the volume, but it turned out I didn't really need to. Then the last thing that I did was a click, and it was one of the engine room sounds, and I thought, oh, I like that. I could make that sound like a clock. So I recorded it and just played it back different pitches. So the whole feel that I wanted to do for the piece, I wanted it to be kind of, I don't think you can do anything but foreboding with this. It's just one of those things. It's just the whole Foghorn thing just drives what you're actually going to make the piece out of. So I did just a little bit of a gentle rise to it, bringing different things in and then hitting with that big Foghorn, bringing all the rhythm section in, and then it sort of gently fades out. I think there's still work to do to it. There's still a little bit I'm going to play around with. I think add a different theme. I might drop something out and bring something in that sort of middle section there. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it though, because it's about 3 days worth of playing around and messing on, so you're never going to get a finished track in that time, but pretty much everything that I've got here is going to stay, the whole structure and the feel of it and everything like that. So I will play out on this track. I'm not going to make this available because I'm totally using this for a track. And in the unlikely event that Venus Theory guy Cameron sees it, let us know what you think. I mean, that is majorly unlikely because, like, you know, I've got like 548 subscribers. Not exactly a big channel here. Anyway, but with your help, I can grow. So I'll play this out, and as it's playing, I'll click on different bits so you can see what I've got patterns wise and what sort of melodies are going on in different areas. Let us know if you like this and you want to see more of this sort of thing. I think I'm definitely going to start picking up a lot more of the Spitfire Lab stuff because, well, one, it's free, and two, yeah, I mean, this is awesome. So thank you very much. Like, subscribe, all that sort of thing. See you later.